Hello and welcome to another episode of From the Desk of Jamison Greenwood, produced by NJB Enterprises and broadcasting from the Kactus, KCTS in Phoenix, Arizona. It's close to Thanksgiving, so tonight's story examines what's truly important in life, and we'll have our quiz and poem as usual for a fun-filled evening. So we'll get to all that in a minute, but before I answer the quiz, I wanted to first discuss the election. So we have Donald Trump for our next president, and I will say some of the stuff he suggested seems good since he was elected, some not so good, but the country elected him, so we gotta at least give him a chance. Now, I was quite surprised, as I'm sure many of you were, that he won at first, and since it's happened, I do have some theories as to why he won, but it would probably take me 2 whole episodes without commercials or quizzes or poetry or anything else, no theme song, no credits, nothing, and it would take me 2 full episodes to explain those theories, and I doubt any of you want to listen to that anyway. So now the long-awaited answers to our trivia quiz, and it's been so long since we gave it that I honestly can't remember what the categories were, so I have to search through my papers here. Okay, so the categories were gambling, chemistry, and past elections. And the answer to the first question, what colors are found on a roulette wheel, is C, black, red, and green. Roulette is the game that is played with the spinning wheel of numbers and a ball, and a board on which people bet their numbers. And numbers 1 through 37 on the wheel are labeled black or red, and 0 and 00 are labeled in green. Now the second question, CO, is the formula for which chemical? The correct answer is D, carbon monoxide. I don't know much else about chemistry, but I'll tell you that it is a dangerous chemical. Now the final question, which presidential candidate spoke of a giant sucking sound in the 1992 presidential election, was C, H. Ross Perot. In a 3-way debate between then-President George H.W. Bush, soon-to-be President Bill Clinton, and Perot, the independent candidate said that if steps were not taken to discourage business people from shifting jobs abroad, there would be a giant sucking sound moving south of the border. And the pattern for the answers was CDC, Centers for Disease Control. Don't ask me why. So our story this week involves a quest for finding something to keep one busy, as I needed when I was a freshman at Sonora Valley High School. I was a very shy, introverted person when I was a young kid, and as I'm sure many of you know, high school isn't necessarily a place where keeping to oneself is considered acceptable behavior. Therefore, I often retreated to the school library on the 2nd floor of the main academic building. Now, it would seem like an ordinary library. There were hundreds of books on floor-to-ceiling high shelves, several rows of HP Windows computers, a circulation desk, and numerous tables for studying. However, unlike most libraries, it was seldom very quiet. Throughout the lunchtime and after-school hours, it could get as loud as a football stadium, with kids conversing at the tables, playing Black Ops on the computers, and couples sitting and making out among the shelves. I would sometimes take my seat at a table near Mrs. Kimball's desk by the circulation counter, and where Gordon, the security guard, kept his post as he watched over the antics of the students in the library. Over the past several weeks, I had been reading and rereading passages from The Outsiders, one of my favorite books that I read in middle school, but after doing this multiple times, I became very bored of it, and found that I just needed to do something else. And I had wanted to go and converse with Mrs. Kimball on this particular day, but she was on the phone answering a question about some teacher's computer, as was often the case, and Gordon, the security guard, had to go break up a fight among some of the football players and among the computers. I also felt my bladder beginning to request a visit to the toilet. I drank a lot of water back then to console my nervous freshman self. So I decided to go first to the restroom outside the library, then come back and reassess. But just as I went out the door, I saw Mark Lake, a kid in my English class whom I sometimes help explain grammatical structures to while we worked on assignments, and in return he would sometimes tutor me on my algebra homework, though I still would have trouble with it today. Don't ask me to do it. I still remember the quadratic formula, A equals MC squared, whatever that is. Anyway, he said to me, "Hey Jimmy, you want to come play Uno with us?" Now, I was hesitant at first. Uno was a card game, from what I understood, and I had never been very good at card games. I had tried to play bridge with my grandma and her friends one time to be polite, but it took me forever to figure out the rules, and Grandma was constantly saying to me, "No, you do it this way. No, that way. No," and and although her friends were very patient, I could tell they were quite annoyed by it, so I was hesitant to do it again. But, it was something new, and I figured nothing ventured, nothing gained. "I guess," I replied. "I'll be back in just a minute." So when I returned from the men's room, I joined Mark at a table with a pretty diverse crowd with 2 other people besides him and myself. Now, Mark was a member of the freshman basketball team. His friend Nathan was a gothic punk with black clothes and a ring on his lower lip. And Olivia was a nerdy person like myself and she had blonde hair and a ponytail and a pair of thick glasses. She explained the game to me while Mark dealt the deck. "Okay," she began. "So basically the object is to get rid of all your cards, and you do that by laying down a card in the same color or number that the person before you puts down." "Now what if I don't have one?" I asked. "Then you have to draw," she replied. And with that we started our game. I watched as Mark, sitting to my right, placed the first card onto the table, a red 6. Nathan, the goth, put down a blue 6. Then Olivia put down a blue 8, and I learned the ins and outs of how to play Uno. For another 3 months, every day at lunch and after school, I began to look forward to playing Uno with this trio of people. I still wasn't very good at it, and I never actually won. The 2 that usually won were Mark or Nathan, and while they were friends at heart, they often got very competitive in our games, engaging in heated rhetoric. I should probably state now that the following passage does contain some strong language which some listeners may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. At one point, Nathan had 2 cards left and was hoping for Olivia to put down something specific. "Red or green," he said. "Red or green." She put down a yellow. He said, and drew another card. When he put down his other card, Mark said, "Oh." Anyway, as time went on, the game got worse. And went all about the place. Now, I was never happy when I lost a game, but I also never felt a need to cuss like the 2 of them. And then one afternoon, after they had left, I said to Olivia, "I think that those 2 will inevitably develop a language that solely uses various combinations of the words and to express any and all thoughts." Olivia shook her head and smiled. "You're probably right," she said. "Well, so the next week, Mark had a basketball practice every day after school, and Nathan had gotten sick with the flu. So I decided in the meantime to ask Olivia if she could give me any strategies on how to play better. So she encouraged me to organize my cards by color and number, which, despite the fact that I'm often an organized person, had never occurred to me before. And she also gave me a better understanding of when to use skip and reversal cards in normal gameplay. So she and I practiced with Miranda Anderson, a senior who worked in the library, and whom I was very fond of in my young freshman age, so it was very exciting to play the game with her. And I sometimes let her win, which probably screwed me up a bit. Now, the week before Thanksgiving, Mr. Trevino, my English teacher, gave us an assignment where we had to write an essay on what we were thankful for that year. And when I first got it, I had no idea what to do. I was still having a hard time adjusting to high school, and I did have some ideas of stuff outside of school that I was thankful for, but some of them just seemed to be too cliché or too simple. And speaking of cliches, we have to take a little break now, but we'll be back after these messages as usual. You are listening to From the Desk of Jamison Greenwood on KCTS. Greetings, folks. This is your old pal Mark Twain again. With the election over, it's time to find something that we can all agree on, and that's the value of Tom Sawyer decaffeinated coffee, the mild but rich coffee that tastes good and won't give you the Jim Jams. And for Thanksgiving, try our new pumpkin spice flavored decaf coffee. It won't give you the Jim Jams, and it'll keep you asleep till there's no turkey left. Tom Sawyer decaffeinated coffee, available as ground, whole bean, and instant.